Landing proper handstand has nothing to do with luck, even though a lot of us treat it that way. It is a precise set of progressions and a lot of control that ultimately leads to something like this.
Wait, when weather calm down, I'm still find a way. They trying to weigh my head all down.
In today's video, I will show you the best progressions that will help you unlock the handstand and more advanced arm balancing skills in an efficient and safe way. There are of course many ways to learn a handstand, but the progressions you're about to watch are based on my own experience and have helped a lot of my clients as well. Since handstand and all arm balancing skills put a lot of load on your wrist, we'll start with the warm-up so that we don't hurt ourselves. First, let's do wrist flexion raises. Get on all fours, position your shoulders right above your wrists and distribute your body weight between your hands and your legs. What we're going to do is we're going to try to spread our fingers as much as possible. This way we will learn to create tension from our fingers, which will help us later on in doing the proper handstand. So start spreading your fingers as much as possible, and now we'll start lifting ourselves on our fingers like this. Notice that my fingers are still buried in the ground, so I'm not exaggerating like this, because in that way it wouldn't be possible for me to distribute my body weight between hands and arms, but we're doing something like this, okay? So my fingers are still buried in the ground. If your mobility allows, try to lift your thumbs and have them in the air all the time. So as you can see, I'm lifting them now and I'm keeping them up all the way through the range of motion. Do 10 reps in 3 sets in total, and ready, pay attention to spreading your fingers and positioning your shoulders right above your wrists. In the next exercise, we want to strengthen and warm up our wrist extensors. Position your forearms on the ground like so, and really try to clench your fists hard. This is going to be our most important condition in this exercise. So we're clenching our fists, we are putting them together so that they are touching each other, and now again distributing our body weight between our forearms and our legs. In the next step, we're going to start lifting ourselves on the wrists like so. Note that in the beginning your mobility might allow for smaller range of motion, and that's completely fine. So if your movement looks something like this and it doesn't let you go further, that's absolutely fine. You can go in the range of motion that you are comfortable with right now. Again, do 10 reps in 3 sets. Throughout the time, your range of motion will start to increase and you will be able to get all the way up like this. As for our last exercise in the warm-up, we're again on all our fours and we're going to try to explore the range of motion with our wrists like so. We're doing this kind of circles with our wrists and we're really leaning in, putting pressure and some of our body weight on the wrist. It can feel a little unpleasant, but don't worry about it. We're just trying to really activate the wrists, palms and all the muscles that are included. So set up a timer for about 1 to 3 minutes and just explore where you can go. Again, our body weight is distributed, so really avoid putting too much of your body weight on your legs. We really want to put pressure on our wrists right here, like so. Now it's time to start working on individual progressions that will ultimately lead us to handstand. Let's start with the first one for real beginners.
We'll start with isometric downward dog position. This exercise is great to build basic strength and introduce the fundamental mechanics that we will need for every inch of our handstand journey. This progression is for both absolute beginners who have zero experience with arm balancing and more advanced athletes who want to learn the principles behind handstand.
There are 3 important conditions that they will try to maintain in this exercise. The first one you already know. It's spreading the fingers as much as possible. That will help us generate tension from fingers. Second condition is the effort to push our elbow pit forward. The physical motion itself doesn't have to be significant, but the intention to do so is really important here. What this helps us to do is to create kind of a helix in our forearms, which helps us create more solid base. Third and last condition we will try to maintain here is pushing away from the ground. So if you have a look at what my shoulders are doing, we're not looking for something like this, but rather this. we're really trying to push the ground as far from us as possible. I'm spreading my fingers, I'm pushing my elbow pits forward, and I'm pushing away from the ground. I will try to hold this position for 60 seconds with maximum effort. You don't really need to worry about your legs because this is not a downward dog from yoga. We're really focusing on the upper part of our bodies. That includes our arms and our shoulders.
Once you can hold 60 seconds in downward dog position, it's time to level up. We will do that by elevating our feet gradually so that we will begin get closer and closer to the vertical position of a handstand. Choose a bench or a box of such height that will allow you to push your limits further. Again, you want to hold 60 seconds with the given elevation before moving on and putting your legs higher and higher. Don't forget to maintain all our 3 downward dog conditions, which will become more and more relevant and maybe even difficult. You really want to become comfortable with these and start doing them automatically every time you get to train for a handstand. Complete 60 seconds and go on until you will be able to keep your torso vertical and your feet at the height of your waist. Now let's intensify things a bit more. Getting even more vertical, we will now start lifting one of our legs and extending it as if we were already in a freestanding handstand. This progression will test your strength capabilities. You can either do it solely as isometric hold or you can include switching the legs. In both cases, your goal is again a 60-second set. Know that your extended leg doesn't have to be perfectly straight since you might get limited by your hamstrings. You're simply putting more weight on your arms and hands so that they get used to the load. Our 3 main conditions remain the same, especially the pushing away from the ground. Spend here some time and get comfortable because in the next progressions, our legs lose contact with the ground completely.
A crucial part of doing handstand is the ability to find active line in our body. The meaning is pretty simple. If you have one solid piece of something, it's much easier for you to balance it rather than if it was, for example, a string or a loose chain, which our body inherently is. The exercise to help us find this active line in our body is pretty simple yet very effective. We start laying on our back. Now we're going to do an isometric hold.
This is the final destination we want to work our way to. Legs and arms extended as if someone is pulling us by them, our lower back glued to the ground. For better interconnection, keep your legs together and your toes pointed. If you find this too difficult or cannot maintain all the conditions, raise your arms and legs higher. You can either start at the top and gradually go lower as you get stronger over time, or start low and lift your arms and legs as you deplete your strength throughout the set. In both cases, you want to keep your lower back glued to the ground. If you don't, you will feel pain really soon. Also, keep in mind that you want to stretch your legs and arms as much as possible.
The milestone of 60 seconds is really important here. Don't forget to lift or lower your legs and arms at the same time.
So we really don't want something like this or this, but rather really going in the same angles with our legs and arms at the same time.
If you cannot hold a position for 60 seconds,
You can lower the angle during the exercise. So for example, if I can hold this for like 20 seconds and then it starts to be harder, I can lower the angle as I get further and further in the exercise.
since we're already getting horizontal, it's time to explain how to deal with balancing on our hands. The principle is very simple and intuitive, and it kind of corresponds to how we balance on our feet. Because when I stand upright, my body does the balancing all the time. Imagine that someone would be standing in front of me and slightly pushing me backwards. What I'm doing without thinking is I'm pressing my heels into the ground. That means putting more of my body weight on the heels so that I can balance and not fall backward. And it works the same way from behind. If someone was to push me lightly from behind, I'm putting my body weight onto my fingers and I'm really trying to press my fingers into the ground so that I don't fall forward. Balancing on hands works in the same fashion. Imagine that I'm already holding a handstand and I'm starting to fall forward. What I need to do is really press my fingers into the ground so that I can put more of my body weight on my fingers. That way, I kind of push myself backwards again. When I start falling backward, I have to press the heels of my palms into the ground so that I stay balanced and somewhere in the middle.
In this progression, it's time for us to start exploring a handstand in a safe position. The setup is the same as before, only now we're going to put all our body weight on our hands. Remember that we're not pushing ourselves into the position, rather we are just shifting our mass of weight forward until our lower leg loses contact with the bench. If things get scary, just follow your lower leg and get contact again. Switch your legs and try to balance 3 to 5 seconds in the upper position. The longer, the better.
If you can hold 60 seconds in all the variations of downward dog position, we can now start going to the wall.
In chest to wall, we want to get as close to the wall as possible while maintaining our 3 conditions and finding active line with our toes pointed. If you are afraid you will fall over, just stack your pelvis and it will keep you on the wall. You can also put a mat behind you just in case. Our goal is a 60-second hold, but remember, you want to keep enough energy and strength to be able to climb down from the wall gracefully and in a controlled way. Do this in 5 sets over which you want to accumulate as much time in vertical position as possible. Keep track of your times so that you can watch your progress.
There's actually a reason why we do this facing the wall and not vice versa. It's because, in my opinion, it's much easier to find your active line before actually trying to balance. And finally, the last progression in which we will actually end up in the proper handstand.
Toe taps will teach you how to actually balance on your hands when holding all your body weight. Do exactly the same as in chest to wall progression, only this time you will try to apply what you've learned from the balancing part in this video. You will find your active line and then press into the heels of your palms. If your body is properly connected, your legs will leave the wall and you end up in a handstand. Important thing here, don't push yourself away from the wall with your feet. You only press into the heels of your palms. Once in a handstand, press into the fingers and heels accordingly so that you can balance for a few seconds. Hold the balance for at least 3 seconds and then go back to the wall and repeat the process. Your goal is 4 times 8 reps with a 3-second hold. If you start falling over, try to lead your legs to one side so that you won't land flat on your back. You can practice the sideway exit so that you get rid yourself of the fear.
Another important thing about handstand is how do we get into one? For that, we will use our kick-up conditioning.
There are certainly many entries, but we'll learn the most basic one using momentum. Kick up your legs and try to connect your body as in previous progressions. You're trying to guess the needed amount of force that will get you into the handstand position. Not too much, not too little, just enough. Explore and see how it works with maintaining our conditions. Once you feel you're balancing, try to lift your lower leg up as well. This will take some time to nail, but if you've come all the way here, you're just a tiny bit from doing a proper freestanding handstand.
Alright, and that's it for the handstand. I really hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe to my channel. And if you are interested in calisthenics, acrobatics and really want to see some other bodyweight tutorials, you can also find me on other social media. Good luck and I'll see you in the next one.
About time today, my stress gone now. Watch the jet fly away. They tell me calm down.